Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the J&J podcast. We could not be here last week. Things came up. We are not valuetainment, so we couldn't, we don't make money off of this yet.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, dude, I wanted to ask you, you know who Derek Blackman is?
Nah, who's Derek Blackman?
He's a YouTuber. I like him. He calls himself a centrist, but he leans left. To nobody's surprise. But he's like he went on a bit of a rant talking about how rich people don't pay taxes and those taxes could be used to like help other people.
What is he again? What's his role?
He's a YouTuber.
He's just a YouTuber.
He makes money off YouTube. Yeah.
So you're telling me he's a capitalist making money off YouTube, right?
The thing is this: he said that he would gladly pay more taxes if he knew it could help more people.
Really?
And he was going in on like Joe Rogan and Pat Beck-David and stuff.
Wait a minute, I know what you're talking about. I saw him on the Patrick David podcast. I know exactly what you're talking about.
No. That's Sam Cedar. He's a white guy. Sam Cedar is what you got to talk about. Derek Blackman is that his last name? His last name is not Blackman. His last name is Derek Pilot, I think. But him too, Sam Cedar. All these guys, they're always saying like, "Oh, we should pay more taxes because it does this," and it's like, yo, you do know that Pat and Joe Rogan, those two specific people, they're probably some of the most
influential
and philanthropic people that you might meet.
That is true.
And my issue with people who say they gotta pay more taxes is like, to who and for what? And I don't want to go on a rant here because this thing annoys me. It's like, yes, you should help. I and you might feel different, but I feel like if you're a billionaire, morally, I feel like you are morally obligated to help people.
But the tax code rewards you for that too. Charity and all these other events.
But the thing is, like, I don't want to pay taxes so they can go on into causes I don't believe in. That's the problem.
But that's why if you are a billionaire, you create your own fund.
Right. And you give all the money to that. And
yeah.
So these guys, like Derek Blackman, he'll be like, I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, oh, they got to pay taxes and they're not paying taxes and that's not helping people. It's like, dude, why would I want to pay taxes and I don't even know where they go? There's a reason people donate to, I don't know, the Red Cross of America, Red Cross, Blue Cross, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
The Red Cross.
Which they find out that they're paying like millions of dollars to the CEO.
Right. Right. And here's the thing, right?
On a non-profit organization.
Yes, well, to be fair, the CEO, he's making a little compared to other CEOs when you think about it. But my thing is this. If you had the choice, hey, pay taxes, and it's going to go to helping somebody somewhere out there in the ether. Maybe not in the ether, but it'll go somewhere out there, and somebody will get helped. Or you could take your money, and you could decide where it goes, and you could put the money directly into that cause. Which one would you pick? It's almost like a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
And not only that, when you tax people, you're putting the money in the hands of the government. And the government is proven that they don't know what the fuck to do with the money. Like they don't allocate in the correct places, man. Like
that's my issue with Derek with his name is, he goes by the name of some black guy on YouTube, but his name is Derek Pilot. I'll call him Derek, some black guy. It's when I say some black guy, I don't mean that as a derogatory. That's his actual YouTube handle.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, these guys like Joe Rogan, and he says if I was rich, I would pay taxes. Like, dude, if you were rich, think about it, man. If you were rich and you had the option, hey, this money can go to the government or to the causes that you specifically believe in. Yeah. You actually have enough money now to go into those causes and influence exactly how you want those causes to be driven. And it doesn't depend on who you vote for.
So where do you think this feeling comes out of? This feeling of like, I think that I should, I think that the wealthy should get taxed more than other people.
I think people say, I think the feeling comes, personally, I think the feeling comes from people believing that the wealthy don't pay their fair share. Whatever that number is, because nobody ever knows what that number is, you know what I mean? I think that comes from people not believing that they don't pay their fair share. They'll say, oh, people, the rich don't pay taxes, and they duck taxes, and, that means that the middle class has to pay more taxes. To a certain extent, I can understand that sentiment, but the next question you got to ask is, well, before we start getting more people to pay taxes, can we find out what these taxes are going to? I don't know I've heard horror stories of companies that like, oh yeah, we got contracted by the government, and they just buy stuff and then we throw it out and they don't even use it.
Yeah.
Is that what you want your money to go to?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people feel that way as well because there's not enough insight and transparency on like what it takes to be wealthy, right? So they only see the end result. They see the Lambo, they see the mansion, they see the boats, the yachts, the girls, and all that other shit. But to actually acquire all that shit, bro, you have to go through a hell lot of stuff, especially sacrifice a shit ton of time with family and loved ones, and like
and that's the thing too.
It takes a toll on you, man.
I feel like the wealthy, they don't really show. If you want the wealthy to pay their fair share, have them pay it by way of showing how they got there in the first place and what their life was like. Like you said, man, people just see the end result. They don't see what it takes to. You imagine you're working, and the whole time you're working to work your way up, you have most people, doubting you, insulting you, saying you're wasting your time, saying why would you do that, saying that makes no sense, saying oh this guy's a fool, this guy's that, this, that, and the third, and then you finally make it, right? You finally a billionaire, and then the same people who doubted you in the first place now turn around and say, hey, you owe us money.
Yeah, you owe us money. How crazy is
off,
that?
Man.
How crazy is that? Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing too. Look, man, like I said before, I think billionaires should be morally obligated to spend their money to help other people who didn't have the same opportunities. I don't think they should be held at gunpoint and we should rob them. No point is it ever okay to rob somebody who has more than you because they have more than you. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at where the money goes, it ends up going back to the same place, to the billionaires, because they're the ones that provide the services.
That's the thing. That's exactly it. They own the services, the businesses, all that stuff, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, you know, we have more money, we can spend more. And the question is, spend more where?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, we can buy stuff from companies owned by who?
Which are taking the risk as well. So
yeah, you know, I feel like, look, I think we had this discussion previously in the podcast.
Yeah,
where
I think it was episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, and you talked about how rich people take advantage of the loopholes. I think if you want to fix anything, fix the loopholes, right? Start there. Don't start by raising taxes.
I wouldn't call them loopholes. I'll call them more incentives, because if you look at it, it kind of I wouldn't say force, but it encourages people to become an entrepreneur and start businesses, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like at the end of the day, if you do want to be wealthy, or sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to be entrepreneurs, but they look at the tax code, look at all the benefits, and like, wait a minute, the way the tax code works is that it benefits people who are married and start businesses. Why is that? Why is it that the tax code does that? Is it trying to build nuclear families and provide services and jobs for other people to stimulate the economy and make it stronger?
I think people take what we have for granted, bro. That's just what it is. People take everything that we have for granted.
You can't do it like that in other countries, man.
They don't travel enough either. I'm not saying that you know that we travel a lot, but I am saying is this: everything when you wake up in the morning and you turn your lights on and all that stuff, dude.
Clean water.
Somebody's doing that not because they like you, but because they want to provide a service that pays money. And there are times, yeah, I'll admit, there are times when it's necessary that the government should be involved, but to the point where they're garnishing so much of your money and you don't even know where that money goes, and then you say, oh, we should give more money to the government so we can help more people. Well, who's being helped right now? You know what I mean? Who's being helped right now? The beauty about donating your own money instead of getting it taxed is that, and obviously taxes are important. We do need taxes, but we need to also reevaluate where this money is going. Where this money is going, right? The beauty about it's funny when some black guy, Derek Blackman, from the podcast, some black guy, I don't know if he has a podcast, but the YouTube channel, he's like, yeah, these guys don't pay taxes, and you know, a lot of people are not getting any help as a result of the wealthy not paying their taxes. Well, let me ask you a question: how many people do you know need help, and how many people who need help is the direct result of the wealthy not paying their fair share versus the direct result of the decisions that they made in their lives?
Yeah, and sometimes I mean, if you want to go as far back as parenting and all that.
Hmm. And so, it got me kind of annoyed a little bit because it's like, dude, you know that if you were a millionaire, you can say, oh, I'll give that money away to charity. Yes, you know, I think you should. Not obviously not all the money, but a charity of your choice, whatever you believe in. You know what I mean? But you don't force people to pay money to the government, right? just so they can spend the money on stuff that you don't even know. You don't even. And here's another thing too. Let's say, for example, you need to collect unemployment, and hopefully, none of our listeners ever have to be in a position where they have to collect it. The rigmarole of trying to get that money, or even not even that, Social Security. Your money goes to Social Security, and then at the end of the year, people are like, "What have you keep? What do you keep hearing all the time? Social Security. We're not gonna have enough Social Security. We're not gonna."
Yeah, I think they have an expiration date for Social Security.
So what have I been paying into this whole time? And now we should pay more, more taxes? Nah, man. If it was up to me, bro, I wish I could just forego. Like, yo, I don't want to pay into Social Security. I don't collect no Social Security, but I don't want to pay into it. Take it off of my taxes.
Yeah.
So.
And then I mean, like, Social Security in itself is kind of like a topic that you have to be careful with as well, because I mean, there's a lot of fraud that happens as well with Social Security. A lot of people work with fake Social Security numbers and all this other stuff. So it's crazy, man. Me personally, I think I would like that option, to have the option to opt out.
I would totally opt out of Social Security, bro. Let me,
because there's no security or that
you're paying
that exists once you retire.
You're paying into something and you don't even. That's not his valuetainment with Sam Cedar. He was like, he had the audacity, bro. This is nuts. He's like, well, Social Security's 401k have been a disaster. What, Sam? And I think the people from valuetainment were just kind of taken aback. Cause like, Sam, if I told you, all right, you have two options for retirement. One, we take money out of your paycheck, you put it into a bucket, you don't know how much is in it, you don't know how much you kind of could tell how much you're going to get out, you don't know how much is in it, you don't know how it's doing or nothing. Or the other one, you put money in it, you can log in to your website, see how it's doing, kind of allocate it within parameters, because we're not going to let you just pour your money in somewhere. Allocate it to wherever you want, see the potential growth based on professional analysts. Which one would you pick? The dark hole that you don't know what's going on, or the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to a private entity versus the government, man.
Always. Yeah. The people don't understand. The government is not in the business of whatever business they're trying to help you in. Yeah. Education, finance, banking, even the army, you can say. You know what I mean?
Now that you mentioned education, do you think that there should be a reform for the educational system?
The public educational system?
Yeah, public educational
I think so.
System.
I really, really think so, because they don't really do anything for you.
Yeah.
That's like some people calling it, and I almost think rightfully so, like glorified babysitting.
Yeah, I think it was built to be like wasn't the Rockefeller family the one that basically made it like an assembly line?
Well, I'm not gonna get into the whole specifics of like the conspiracy theory, but it's basically meant to train workers and factory workers.
Yeah. They don't really teach you about finance and how to make money.
That's not the idea of a quote-unquote education. The idea is...
They don't teach you that in an MBA. They don't teach you that in finance. They're supposed to teach you how to make money.
I think it's by design.
It's how to be an accountant instead.
It's how to work for somebody.
Yeah, how to work for someone, yeah.
How to start... If you're in business, you would assume that you know how to start an LLC. You know the difference between an LLC and S Corp, all that stuff.
They do teach the terminology, but they don't actually give you like...
They don't go in depth.
Scenarios or practical scenarios are like, hey guys, this is Business 101. Today we're going to open an LLC.
Or, hey, Johnny's trying to start...
Hey, we're going to use your tuition money for that too.
The thing is...
Part of it.
The thing is like, hey, Johnny trying to start a business selling oranges. What does it benefit him to use an LLC or an S Corp? Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why? And why does it benefit for him? So, they don't teach you. They teach you how to be workers. And they don't even give you the skills that you need to actually... be a worker, you know what I mean? So
they teach you how to be the accountant for the person that has the LLC.
What's even crazier about that is that they teach you how to be the accountant sometimes for the college dropout.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part. You know what I mean?
What are your thoughts about? I think Congress passes. I might be off. I think they passed a couple $1 billion for. To get rid of some student debt. Like, what are your thoughts about the fact that you can file bankruptcy for almost every little thing in this world? Actually, anything except student loans.
I think you should be able to file bankruptcy for student loans. I don't think it's fair that, first off, obviously, for obvious reasons, I don't think student loans should be forgiven, but I do think you should be able to file bankruptcy for student loans. Only because it's fair that you can file bankruptcy for everything else.
Well, yeah, I don't understand why. Why is it just education? You're able to, like, a credit card or even a house, like one of the most expensive things you're ever going to buy in your life. Yeah. But when it comes to education, why is it that they don't allow you to write that off? Not write that off, but Like, just get rid of it.
I don't know. I do not know. And it's like, yo, you do know that I, like, with a credit card, I could buy a whole bunch of items with a credit card, declare bankruptcy, I don't give a freak, and then just, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, your credit's freaked after that, but you don't have to.
I don't
pay
owe
back.
nobody. And all the stuff that I buy, I can actually sell it back and make money off of it. Whatever the case is, I don't know. I don't know why. I do think people should be able to file for bankruptcy for student loans, honestly. But
you think there should be some regulations as to the government allowing you to choose certain subjects that benefit
if the government is paying for it, I think the rule should be you gotta major in teaching, engineering, doctor, law school, all that stuff.
I think the government should have. I'm pretty sure they do have studies on what careers they lack to stimulate the economy, to help the economy.
It's called. You guys ready for this? BLS.gov tells you all the jobs that have a high potential of growth, low potential of growth, what's expected to be growing in the next. And I think the government should stop signing blank checks to colleges for people to major in whatever they want to major in. I think the government should government loans for colleges should only be given out to people who are majoring in stuff that benefit the economy and that have jobs attached to them. Engineering, math.
So how will that help out those that are not, I wouldn't say talented, but are not interested in those certain subjects?
Then you don't go to school. I don't know what I'm going to tell you. You know what I mean? The same way you can go to work even though you don't like your job.
So wouldn't you say that's kind of unfair for those that are talented maybe in art?
Well, so you start your own thing, bro. Because you know what?
So are you trying to say that you don't need school to study art?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, man. But and I like what you're doing, you're trying to play the other side. But
I'm just trying to understand, bro.
No, but you know what it is? It's like people say that's not fair for people who want to go to school but can't. You know what's not fair for people who didn't go to school but somehow have to get their taxes raised to pay the student loans for the people who did go to school in a job that they can't even. You know what I mean?
All right, so let's just say the government's like, all right, you know what? We'll forgive your loans. Don't you think that's kind of like a slap to the face to those that had to pay?
Yes.
Out of their pocket. So do you think they should get reimbursed as well?
Well, here's the thing. For the new people starting.
Yeah.
If you're majoring in something that has jobs, then I think the government should say, hey, we will subsidize. You don't have to pay for everything, but we will subsidize everything. You'll pay a percentage, but we'll subsidize everything. And you're good. And you're majoring in something that benefits the economy.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be kind of fair?
I think that'll be fair.
Do you think it'll be kind of fair if okay, I took student loans to become a chemical engineer. I am now a chemical engineer. Now they have student loan forgiveness. I wasn't part of that because I already graduated. I saved my money. I worked hard. Should I be able to now study for free in that school because I graduated? Because I actually went through a curriculum that helped me with help the economy.
If you have a college degree in one of the stuff that the government pays for or subsidizes, you're not qualified. If you have a degree in liberal arts and you want to go back to school to become an engineer, the government should subsidize. Okay. I think because it's still it's a net benefit to society. Now, if you have student loans and you've been paying them for 10 years, let's say you have 50K student loans, right? And in the past 10 years you paid off 60K, but somehow you owe 35K. I think those student loans should be forgiven because you paid what you owed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think this whole thing that's another thing too. If you owe 40K and you've been paying for 15 years and you owe 30K, that whole loan shark thing, if you already paid what you owed on principal and a little bit more interest, it should be forgiven. You know what I mean? I think that'll be fair.
It's going to be kind of hard, though, if you think about it. They're going to have to, create a system because when it comes to government, again, it seems like they lag behind when it comes to technology. Well, I don't know about, military government. No, that's a whole different
We're talking about governance. Yeah.
They're outdated and stuff. And so since they're outdated, how are they able to create systems using technology to find out and figure out those problems that you just mentioned right now? How are they going to figure out who paid 15 years of their loans?
They don't care. They just say, hey, I'm passing this law. Hey, Bernie Sanders passes law. Hey, he's a hero. They don't care how it gets implemented.
Do you think new politicians might be more open to that?
We need young politicians. We need young politicians with the same fervor of.
Have you seen any new young politicians that are in favor to technology, or do you think they're just following the same old agenda?
Your boy,
because
Naive. These young people, because they majored in. I don't know if the young people in politics, because they majored in liberal arts and other useless degrees, they not only are they not passionate about technology, but they're
not able to comprehend,
they're
right?
not, yeah, they like AOC.
Or they're not even familiar with all these other
Yeah, like AOC, she's
technologies out
like,
there.
oh, they shouldn't ban TikTok. Like, man, you do know that TikTok could be used as spyware to spy on us. Fine.
You saw the video she came out with that, like, oh,
Yeah, I don't really care what she said. I feel like
like, don't get me wrong, the Restriction Act that they're trying to pass, I heard that
that's messed up.
it's very
Yes.
intrusive.
Yes, 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 yes,
I
yes.
think they're able to basically control all your information, right?
Yes. So
And
if you
see
want
anything that you're doing.
if you want to criticize anything, criticize the act that's being passed, where it's like you can't even download VPN.
Yeah, that's another thing.
The thing about that act, that Restriction Act, is that our elected leaders are so unaware of how technology works that a lobbyist can just show up to their thing, say, "Oh, VPN, you could download, explicit stuff about children," and they can be like, "What? We can't have that. Well, we can't have that, Jimmy."
Yeah, so it makes
that's all it takes.
Does China have the same thing where they don't allow? I mean, I think they do allow
Of
VPNs,
course,
right?
no, China
Well,
blocks it.
they have the China firewall, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's people that use a VPN to get around with that.
Yeah,
but there's jail time, I think, for that as well.
Yeah,
I might be
China's
wrong.
China's not a democracy. You know what I mean? China's
Yeah, that's true.
or a constitution.
What I'm trying to say is that it seems like we're going towards that direction.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
People are saying that in the future, as we continue to keep butting heads with China, for us to beat China, do we have to become like China? Because the freedoms that we have here can be exploited by what's the word I'm looking for? Adversaries.
Yeah.
And used to give them feedback. Whereas opposed to over there, everything's on lockdown, so nobody can just walk in and give feedback to the adversaries.
Holy shit! I never thought about that theory, man.
No, it's something that's kind of frightening. Where it's like China has cameras everywhere and they can see what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And there's no Fourth Amendment where you have the right to privacy and all that stuff. You get what I mean? So they can kind of like just make sure everybody's on top of things.
So do you think that's the right way to go, or?
That's the thing right now. Is just freedom versus authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And honestly, with the whole thing that China's doing with the whole de-dollarization, the whole Brics thing, people say for those of you who don't know, Brics is basically China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and Brazil, all getting together to kind of start their own currency in a way, so that they don't have to depend on the dollar. So they're quote unquote de-dollarizing, and what that essentially means is that those countries, whenever they deal with each other, they're gonna deal with whatever currency that they come up with, and there's no need for the dollar. What does that mean for the United States? Right now, it doesn't mean much, but a quick lesson here: the United States is the world reserve currency, meaning that the dollar is accepted in most developed countries. What does that imply? That implies that the currency, our dollars, is a strong currency and pretty dependable. What does that allow us to do? Because the world demands our dollars and not just our countries, we can get away with printing a lot of money, right? And when we print a lot of money, because there's a demand for dollars, we can export a lot of the money that we print for the most part, and that keeps our inflation at bay, so we don't have runaway inflation. So, if other countries start dumping the dollars and there's no need for dollars, well, all the dollars go back into the United States, further devaluing our currency, resulting in inflation going up and going higher. So even the dog is upset about that. I don't know if you guys can hear the dog. The dog is not too happy about that. Yeah, no, I hear you. But yeah, so what China and Russia and India, they're all trying to do, they're trying to start their own currency, bypassing the dollars. So another thing to keep in mind is that if a country like Japan wants to buy Saudi Arabian oil, okay, oil from Saudi Arabia, they can't just use Japanese yen. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
They have to convert Japanese yen into dollars, okay, American dollars. From those dollars, they go and buy Saudi Arabian oil. Obviously, the world needs oil. By proxy, that means the world needs dollars. So, the concerning thing is that obviously runaway inflation and everything. A lot of people aren't worried about it. I'm still worried about it. A lot of people are saying, well, it's only countries that they barely get along right now.
Yeah,
And that's kind of true.
I was going to say that as well, but Like once NATO countries start announcing the same thing, that's when we should worry. I think France announced it.
France is talking out their neck recently.
Like
I don't know if you
because
noticed.
France had the I don't know if prime minister or the president, whatever they call, as the leader of that country. He said that he had a meeting with the president of
China.
China.
Then he came back talking
yeah,
tough.
talking about like, oh, we should try not to use the dollar in France, and I'm like, what? What's going on?
He was like, yeah, we should. In a way, I can kind of understand, but we're Americans.
Yeah,
so we're not gonna.
Yeah, we're not gonna let that happen.
We're not gonna let that slide. He was like, yeah, we should. We're allies, but we don't want to be vassal states. Which, an argument could be made that Europe is nothing more than a vassal state for the United States. And for anybody questioning that, keep in mind that the reason that Europe is calm, nobody's afraid of. Sadly, nobody's afraid of France. Oh, Croatia is not invading. I don't know. Belgium.
Why aren't they afraid?
Because they know what it is. They know when they see those Star Spangled Banner. They know when they see those flag. But that's the thing. Europe has been more or less stable because of the United States for the most part. So yeah, you say you don't want to be vassal states, but y'all have not done anything at all to be able to say, hey, we're standing on our own 2 feet. You don't develop an army. Trump, for the most part, actually even told him, like, yo, your military spending has to be at least 2% of your GDP or something like that. And they weren't even doing that. You know why? Because they were counting on America defending them. You think America's going to stand by and watch as the UK gets invaded?
So they're saying that they might, depending on who gets elected for the next president of the United States, they're stating that they might get rid of NATO. What do you think about that? Getting rid of NATO alliance.
To be fair,
and getting rid of globalization and just everyone just developing their own countries to be able to provide for their own infrastructure.
I like that. I feel like globalization has benefited the consumer.
It has benefited and developed other countries as well, which was the goal.
That's the thing. It developed China, and look what happened.
Yeah.
That's a sad thing too. Like, so a lot of people don't know when World War II ended. The United States developed something, and shout out to he's a former basketball player. His name was something Sally. He actually explained this. The United States developed something called the Marshall Plan. What is the Marshall Plan? The Marshall Plan was a plan started by some guy in the United States to be able to fund war-torn Europe, Western Europe, to be able to build them back up. And that benefited everybody because those are our allies.
It worked.
Yeah, those are our allies. And that was, that helped them build up. And then the thing about that, though, and I think NATO should have somewhat been disbanded after the collapse of the USSR.
Yes, after the Soviet Union collapsed, yes.
Why did NATO continue to expand long after USSR collapsed? I'm not Henry what's his name? Henry Kissinger. I'm not in the geopolitical side of things to know why, but I think NATO lived its usefulness, right? People can say, well, what about China? Well, I don't know. Now we're gonna go back to everybody deciding who to side with, and I think.
Damn, do you think if they disperse NATO that our once allies might turn their backs to us?
What I'm afraid of is if we disperse NATO, I think Europe might be easy pickings for whoever.
Because you think about it, France just had one meeting with China. Next thing you know, he comes back talking about his trash.
Yeah. So I think
is that all it takes? Just one meeting with.
I think Europe will be easy pickings, right? Where it's like, oh, we don't have NATO no more. Every country for yourself. Then you have some countries siding with China, some countries siding with Russia, some countries. Well, now, like, damn. So who's gonna side with a country all the way across the Atlantic?
And that's another thing. Once you disperse NATO, as an American, right? Not as American, but the military. Do they have the right to have bases on those countries?
Probably not.
I think that's part of the treaty.
Yeah, probably not.
So we would have to bring back those resources back to America, which would make us stronger, but in a way weaker as well.
Globally weaker, nationally stronger. I think if we have I think if America just sticks to being cause America is huge, bro. America has. I think NATO has prevented more wars in Europe. That much we can definitely say that much
Definitely.
But the thing is, at what point do we say, all right, we're globalized enough where we can depend on globalization to prevent us from going to war instead of NATO? At what point do we say that?
I don't know. They might know something we don't know. Maybe there's conversations about they're maybe waiting for NATO to get dispersed, so that way they could
they can start buying stuff out. Like, hey, friends, we got your back.
Not even maybe just infiltrate and just attack. I don't know.
Who knows, man? But going back to the whole de-dollarization thing.
Yeah.
Freaking one of the funny things, people are not worried about it. And somebody brought up a good point. They were like, well, I'm not worried about Brics because remember the euro, when the euro currency came out, it was supposed to be the dollar killer.
Yeah.
And all the countries in Europe have more in common with each other. They share borders. They share democratic identity, for the most part, democratic identity, and for the most part, they somewhat have a similar national identity, and they want to cooperate with each other, and they're democratic. You know what I mean? And they still couldn't top the dollar. These are all countries next to each other, cooperating with each other, wanting to cooperate with each other. You mean to tell me that a country with democratically elected leaders, full of people who want to cooperate with each other and want to work with each other and share borders and everything, if they couldn't topple the dollar, how could countries who are separated geographically, right? Some of them have dictators, some of them have political systems that are iffy at best. You mean to tell me that they're going to take down the dollar?
Yeah. I think it also goes back to the military, man. At the end of the day, we have operations worldwide. It is what
we have that pull up. People talk about the pull out game. Nobody talks about the pull up game.
I mean, at the end of the day, bro, if there is a threat that like appears out of nowhere, maybe China starts getting really strong with their economy, and they try to outbeat us. We'll just go in there and we'll destabilize their economy, and that's it.
We messed up big time because ideally, right? Well, it gave us the PlayStation 4, but ideally, we shouldn't even be in the East like that. We shouldn't be in the Pacific.
So, I agree with that, but then again, it's just a lot of things that we don't know, right? Like us as America, we're all over the world, but do you think other countries like China, Russia, we see Russia moving more towards the West, right? Because I'm pretty sure they felt threatened and stuff when Ukraine announced they might join NATO and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah.
Do you think that China and Russia have plans to keep moving to the West? Don't you think if we don't do it, then they would do it?
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the thing, right? First off, yes, Russia had plans to move to the West, the whole Iron Curtain thing. Yeah. NATO probably was what stopped it. The USSR, when they were the USSR, China had plans. Probably still has plans to make vassal states out of South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, all those places. But because we're there, they're not able to.
So you think Russia no longer has plans to move to the West?
I think, the USSR had plans to move to the West. After they collapsed, I don't think they can anymore. You know what I mean? I think Russia was like, oh, Ukraine's about to join NATO. NATO is right at our doorstep. They
felt threatened.
Yeah,
they're like, we can't let this happen.
Right, and NATO was specifically created for the USSR threat.
So, what do you think is the agenda of America to keep moving towards
I think America is just imperialistic, bro.
Yeah,
but nobody likes to hear that.
And overall, we've talked about Europe. We talked about the USA. A little bit of we didn't really mention South America, but Africa. What's going on with Africa?
Before you go on really quickly, I think America is imperialistic. I think Russia's imperialistic. I think China's imperialistic. Of those three imperialistic countries, which one do you want leading the world? It's obvious that the world is kind of somewhat, and maybe I'm speaking from a ethnocentric perspective or a nationalistic perspective, but the world seems better off with America. We pretty much give out all our intellectual properties out. We build up other nations, other countries.
Did you hear about the leak? We'll talk about that later. The leak that happened.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah,
but I think people are not worried about Brics because of the reasons that I mentioned before. But what I do think is that the countries that right now, there's 5 countries that are part of Brics, or 6, whatever. But I think China could pull off a sleight of hand and be like, yo, Africa, all those countries that owe us money, if you adopt the Brics currency, you don't owe us money anymore.
So if they do agree with that, right? Do you think that's enough to bring down the dollar?
That's a big chunk of countries now. Yeah, people will be like, yeah, but they're third world countries. Who cares about that? Well, it's a start, dude. And all these countries now all of a sudden have mines, have resources, and they're dealing in common currency. China could just be like, yo, you owe us money. You won't owe us any money if you use this currency. Drop your currency, use this currency.
Damn, man. Yeah,
Think about that.
Damn, and then maybe we should post this up. This is giving ideas to China.
I think they're moving that way already. Yeah. Bro. I think they're moving that way already. And then they'll be like, other countries in Africa will be like, well, damn, you know what? These people seem to be doing pretty well adopting that. We're gonna adopt that currency too. And what happens? Slowly, you start having an African Union.
And they owe a lot of money, right, to China.
Yeah, like
Billions?
tens of billions of dollars to China. And then before you know it, they'll have an African Union, similar to the European Union, that's a vassal state now to
Oh wow, to
China.
China.
Yeah, or Brics, whatever you want to. So
because I mean, the relationship between India and China is not that great. That's another.
that's
thing.
another thing too,
No one
right?
talks about that.
One thing we can say, yeah, France, Macron is talking out his neck right now, but at the end of the day, like, we all get along with each other for the most part. Americans, British, French, Belgians, all Germans, all those people, we all get along with each other. But I don't know, man. All it takes is if one country in Europe decides to drop the euro and go to Brics. I don't think that's gonna happen. But if one country decides that, yeah, we're gonna accept Brics currency, it could be over.
Yeah,
Could be over for the euro for sure.
Wow, man.
So one of the thing is the thing that makes the dollar strong is the political system's backing it. How much do you respect? How much is the political system respected and followed in that country? And I think the dollar has proven time and time again that it's pretty stable. I want to change subjects real quick. You heard of the Freaknic? The Freaknic documentary coming out on Hulu.
No.
So apparently, in Georgia, in South, apparently, like in '86, college, predominantly black colleges try to start like something called Freaknic. It occurs in spring, and colleges get together. It's like spring break.
Is it like Rutgers Fest or some shit?
No, I guess, but it's like spring break, but for predominantly historically black colleges.
Oh, okay.
And people have picnics and it's parties and stuff like that. Apparently, Freaknic '94 was so wild that they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
People were having intimacies on the streets of Georgia. It was so wild that Georgia was gridlocked.
It sounds like Rutgers Fest.
dude. So apparently
they got rid of that too. Well, still have.
So documentaries coming out with the recordings of people like dancing.
Shit.
A lot of people supposedly are on those videos, and they're concerned now that they're high up. This was like 30 years ago.
Oh,
they're high up in their careers. They're high up in in their family. Whatever.
Wait, when did this get disbanded?
99 was the last year.
Damn,
but 94 was the wildest year. It was like the peak of the wild years. So people were like out, I think CNBC or something like that was like in a helicopter recording the streets of.
Wow. So it's not that. Imagine if it was like 2011 or 2000.
Yeah, it's different, but
yeah,
like the fire festival, right? But that's a different story.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a helicopter like trying to record the streets of Atlanta, and it was wild. People were partying, and they zoomed in, and somebody was like having intercourse on top of a car hood.
Sheesh.
Or on top of a car, and that is
streets full of that.
And recording, so a lot of people's grandmas and a lot of people's moms are concerned because they were probably in there getting freaky.
Those cars were bouncing, bro.
No, they were out in public getting freaky, bro.
Damn.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'm definitely gonna watch.
Yeah, well, they're trying to stop it because it might expose a lot of people, and it's like
most of them are probably like fathers and mothers and stuff,
yeah.
Professors,
professionals,
and shit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Professors and people who've been talking about like this country, this culture's degrading, and
hopefully they don't look the same.
And you see him in the video just bouncing.
They have the same exact face and stuff. Just a few white hairs and stuff. That'd be crazy. Yeah,
so apparently they're out here like freak dancing, and it was crazy. So they're trying to stop those videos from the show from coming out. It's coming out in 2024. I don't know how they're gonna pull that off.
Well, guys, so if you ever see like a trailer on YouTube about that Netflix show coming out, just make sure that
Hulu.
Hulu. Make sure it might be on YouTube, like a trailer or something. Make sure you mention this podcast that you found out first through here, man.
Well, we're definitely gonna mention. Freaknic. It's called Freaknic. I think Freaknic '94, which is the peak.
That was the year, bro.
People were out here just straight
busting.
Yeah, there we go. Thrashing, having sex in the streets, in the cars. People with their breastages exposed.
Jesus. No censorship.
No
government.
Like, damn, bro. Like, this is the state of, some former presidents. What's your problem, dude? And obviously, it was just started as a picnic for black people to kind of network. Yeah. And it evolved to, like...
Well, I mean, if they pass this
Well, actually, it devolved into,
Yeah, if they pass this Restrict Act, they might ban that shit. So.
What, Hulu or Freaknic? Freaknic's already banned.
The whole damn thing.
No, Freaknic's already banned, bro. They don't have that anymore.
No, not the event, the actual documentary they're going to come out with.
No, I don't know how that ties into that. But then again, I haven't read the whole bill, so.
I don't know. I just thought they'll be able to have actually ban.
No,
things
no,
from certain
they want to
entities.
they want to ban the video because a lot of women. So far, it seems like a lot of women have been getting exposed.
Damn.
Not
You might see
are
Pelosi in
worried
there.
that are worried that they might get exposed.
Yeah.
It was like, well, what are you trying to hide? Like, you know what I mean? So it was like they had them on cam. And, you know, back in the day, it wasn't like before where like you could sneak record with your phone.
Yeah.
Back then, they had these big camcorders.
Yeah.
So you know, like,
Do you think there might be some politicians in there or something?
Yo.
Maybe Hillary. I don't know.
No. So at that time, I think Bill Clinton was president.
Oh shit. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing his own thing.
Yeah. Actually, Bill Clinton became president in '92, I think. Yeah.
Wasn't that Bush? 92.
So Reagan was
Like the father Bush, the senior.
no. So Reagan was, I think, 80 to 84, and then 84 to 88. Then Bush was 88 to 92, and then yeah.
They were
So-
playing for the next 8 years after that, right?
Yeah. He actually left the budget balanced.
Yeah, dude, isn't that crazy? We're on a surplus.
Which I don't know why. You
He
know,
was
I don't,
putting in that work, you know.
I don't know how much of that was the result of the internet.com boom.
Probably.
And that, but people don't. Damn, we're gonna circle back to this. Well, NAFTA, he signed NAFTA, and when nobody talk, people like to talk about how Reagan ruined the economy. Supposedly, nobody talks about how Bill Clinton signed NAFTA and caused factories to become cheaper to be made in Mexico, which the Rust Belt factories, a lot of them moved down to Mexico as a result of NAFTA. So, I think that's it for the podcast, guys. It's good.
Just make sure you subscribe, like, comment.
Like, subscribe,
Yeah.
comment, and you know.
Make sure to tune in for the next episode. You know, we always respond to our comments. Just make sure to comment.
Yeah.
And if there's any interesting topics you think we should cover, let us know, and we will do that. And that's it, man.
And if you're gonna be on the Freaknic documentary involuntarily,
sucks for you.
I hope nobody notices you. Take care, guys. Peace.
Bric.